Within like 2 days, he calls me back. He's like, "Hey, I have a couple that they have to sell their house. You know, roughly it's like 385. How can you help them out?" Well, of course I can.
Really, honestly, the way I like to start everything out is if you can just tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're at in the country, and how long you've been in real estate.
Um, Real estate since 2012. I'm on the southern end of the United States where Texas is. So no one ever really knows, basically. So I guess the best way I can explain it is South Padre Island. Some people understand that. That's maybe about like a 50-minute drive from here. So right across the border. I mean, I'm literally 20 minutes from the border to Mexico. I think I joined in November, December. It was a
Mhm,
30 days like trial period, whatever.
mhm.
At that point, just like everybody else in real estate right now, just like everybody else throughout the country, it was holiday time. So I was
Yeah.
just swamped. I think February, um, I forget the guy's name that reached out to me. He said that I'll go ahead and he'll teach me or he'll show me, basically have an introduction with me since I had already missed so many calls. Um, and then maybe like a week from there, that's when I met with Rosario. Uh, and that was it. She walked me through what I needed to get walked
Awesome. So how have you been, since you kind of got that introduction to how everything worked, how's everything been? How are you using the books?
through. Okay. So at first I was like, dude, I'm like really swamped right now. I had just lost my assistant kind of thing. Um, I had just barely moved brokerages. I was still, everything. I was basically like a new agent again, right? For the most part. So I was just barely like I ordered 10 books. I really like the idea of like a divorce listing, because for the most part, when you get divorce listing, they're a little bit higher end of the price point, right? Um, and at that point, I had been like working just under the median average of the market that I'm in. Uh, the market here, my medium average is about like 275, 280. So I was doing like 185, 200. Um, but for the median average of divorce listings, at least the two that I've already gotten are 30 and 300s, right? So it's the same amount of work. It's just some nice, better pay, right? At least 30% more, better pay. Um, so I got the book. I think I was friends on Facebook with this one guy who works for the divorce attorney, and he had posted on his story, clients getting divorced, and this is what I'm having to go through. So I just reached out to him directly, right? Had lunch with him, uh, paid for the lunch, right? I gave him 5 books. Uh, Within like 2 days, he calls me back. He's like, "Hey, I have a couple that they have to sell their house. You know, roughly it's like 385. Can you help them out?" Well, of course I can. So
Yeah.
that was the first listing I got. Um, and then I went. I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, it can't be this easy, right? So let me try it again with someone who's not a friend on Facebook, right?" So,
Mhm.
um, I was at a protein shop, buying a shake, and then in one of the business cards that they have there, I just saw another attorney, divorce attorney, whatever. I stopped in, left 5 books, um, got another listing. I mean, I got a call like, "Hey, well, what's up? What did you want from the book? Are you expecting something back?" I'm not expecting anything back, but I'm pretty sure you want to like, you don't get paid until the case is completely closed, and sometimes you don't actually like close out the case until the home is actually sold. So, you tell me how fast can I help you? Um, so that's where I got my second listing from.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's awesome. And honestly, I think to be on using the divorce books with the divorce attorney to me is like the best way to do it rather than
Mhm.
trying to track down the divorcing homeowners themselves. It's so much easier to work with the attorneys because that's a great referral partner. I mean, now you have two awesome referral partners that you've already got listings from, and they know that they know your work now.
Mhm. So we're on escrow on one of them, and the other one we just listed uh, on the 12th.
Awesome. Awesome. So, I mean, from 10 books, you've already gotten two listings.
Yes.
That's a pretty good return right there already.
Yeah, especially because there were, the free 10 book credits.
Yeah. Awesome. What was the attorney's reaction, when you gave them the book and was kind of, because that book is just solidifying your authority in your ability to sell these homes.
Mhm. It was more from like a skittish standpoint because I guess he saw more value in it than he was expecting to get. Everybody will drop off a pamphlet, something you can print off a printer, whatever the case might be. But then he was like, "So, what are you expecting from me? Like, do I pay for them? No, like really and truly, man. I'm just trying to help you. Scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, kind of thing. I know you want to close out as fast as you want to close out. Everybody's just, I mean, you're not in the business to just, keep meeting people. You're in the business to actually like, cash a check at some point.
Mm. Yeah. So, I mean, in with the divorce listings, and I know you said, you just recently got these listings, but if everything, with these listings, these people, they eventually need to buy new homes too, two
Hmm.
new homes. So that's a great, you know, you could definitely kind of double
A
up
break
your,
off. Yeah.
yeah.
So the husband already, moved in with, you know, so that's a lost, uh, possibility, right? He was already moved on by the time I got that. By the time I got that listing, um, but the wife or the ex-wife to be, whatever, she's actually we're actually looking for something
Well,
in
great.
the median
Yeah.
price range.
Right. Right. Yeah. So what was it about the divorce listings that, obviously you said that the price range was a little bit higher in your area
Mhm.
for those. So that's definitely one incentive. Was there anything else that, kind of drew you to those listings?
I want to say no, only right because let's be honest, right? Like you do so much work. I don't know how long you've been in real estate, like what your background is, but real estate gets tiring, and so you actually feel it's great to actually feel those clients actually appreciate you,
Mhm.
right? Um, and since they're going through such a tough time, with the divorce, it's nice to know that well, at least someone is actually looking out for me, and at least for this lady, she's actually a lot more appreciative, with her situation and what's going on.
Right. Right. Well, and that's great too. So, I mean, really, like when you really think about it, out of these 10 books, you've got two referral partners from the attorneys and four, really four separate clients that know your work that can now
Hmm.
refer you out. So from 10 books, you've gotten six possible referrals and two of them being good referral pipelines.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a great way to start building up that pipeline of business coming in.
yeah. I'm actually pretty excited. Uh, things have been a lot smoother. I mean, you know, I guess people get scared, I guess, from the stigma of the possibility of like working with someone going through a divorce. I mean, I guess TV and entertainment makes us feel like divorces are really ugly. But for the most part, she's been very respectful. He's been very respectful, easy to work with.
Yeah. And I think, a lot of times that comes down to just the agent's approach to it. As long as you're going into it, not taking sides and,
Mhm.
really working with both clients in a respectful way to both of them, it shouldn't be that difficult.
So yeah, like and then it is a big difference from my 200s that I've been working with to like actually working with basically a $400,000 listing. It's just easier. I don't have to fix so many things. There's not things that need to get addressed, and I don't have to overcome so many objections when selling it to a buyer or whatever. But you know, at least this listing has been basically ready to go. It was
Mhm.
very well kept. It was just an easy sale.
Right.
I think it took longer to
When,
get the photos.
yeah. When you know, using the books, how is that, and even, in approaching these attorneys, is having that book, is that, changed your, just even confidence in going and talking to these, people that you are looking to build up these referrals with and referral pipelines with?
Yeah, I like I said, back to like I don't know how it's been. Like you show up to somebody or you're there to sell your service, right? And you feel bad because you don't have so much value to give. To us, basically a flyer means nothing, you know. So we always feel like, hey, well, what am I going to give them? I got to leave them with some kind of value. At least with the book, from their perspectives, it's like, hey, you put a lot of time into this. Hey, it already gives that idea. It already gives that background of like, oh, well, they're actually leaving me with something, and whether they actually like read it, from cover to cover or just like, browse through it really quickly. To them, hey, that took a lot of time, or what, this actually was worth more than maybe just like a $5 Starbucks.
Right. When so you talked about having that lunch with the first
Mhm.
attorney that you started working with. What was your kind of pitch to them, for using you specifically and having the book and like just kind of giving that to their clients?
Um, I met, like, I didn't go with the whole salesy personality. I met just to communicate, just to hang out. Hey, I've seen on your stories, I've seen, on your Facebook feed, it's you do a lot of work. Sometimes, and his story at that point, he had posted something along the lines of like, dude, I'm tired. It's like 9 o'clock at night and I'm barely leaving the office. So I told him like, so I asked, hey, well, what is it that you need? Or like what makes it so difficult? Is because sometimes they don't agree on pricing. Sometimes they don't want to like sell it. Sometimes they're dragging their feet to sell it. But now that I have someone actually like, hey, you know what? Call this guy. He's gonna, give you the price point that you need, get you the most amount of money, whatever the case might be, and we'll be able to close it. And then you guys can sign on the dotted line a lot faster. So um, I really just asked him what he needed, and then I try to see like where I could fit in there.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's, I think it's really smart to kind of key in on that that pain point of every attorney out there. Like that's just it's one extra thing that can be a headache that they just don't want to deal with. Like if they can find somebody that's super reliable, that's going to get the home sold, that's going to work with their clients, and honestly, it make them look good later
Hmm.
on down the road. Because if that divorcing couple, if they've had a good uh you know interaction with that attorney because that attorney had a team of people like yourself getting everything taken care of and getting everything done quickly for them, that's going to bring in more business to them as the attorney, but then also funnel down to you as well.
Hmm.
Yeah. What so you've really keyed on the divorce attorney, so that was with your first 10 books that you went with the
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, that's cool. That's interesting. Not a lot of people get the divorce books printed off first in the first 10.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It was just coincidental at the time, right? Like,
Mhm.
um, I I to be honest, I think that's the first thing that actually like popped up in my feed. Um, and then I had seen him or like one of his stories pop up saying, whatever, that he's working late or he's he just got out of court, whatever the case might be. Um, since it was already there, just like that advertisement on a daily basis, whatever. You know what? I'm just gonna give the divorce book. I remember Rosario was like, "Are you sure? Not many people, get the divorce book. Everybody usually gets the biz card first." Um, yeah, I'm gonna work with this one. Riches and niches, I think, is the word.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a really great, and honestly, just it's a good test. It's a great testament to you also. You like, what you want to do. And so you
Mhm.
found the tools that's going to help you do that.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's really cool is that, you found a way to use the book and to start getting into a higher price point in your market. And I think that's awesome. Um, just before, like we wrap up, so obviously it took a little while. You like you said, you didn't necessarily know what all you had with
Hmm.
Authorify. And
Yeah.
now that you've had these calls with Rosario and set yourself up, how are you how do you like everything else besides just these listings that you're happening to get with the books?
I didn't know how to like. farm, I guess, for like specific divorce listings. So I know I read into that one, or I looked more into those videos. I like that idea. I started this last week. So this past weekend, I sent like a few, uh, one of those letters. Um, so this past weekend, I think it was like the first letter that I sent out on day 3. Um, Aside from that, I'm not gonna lie, there's really not. I haven't really like looked into all the other videos. Um,
But and honestly, there's a lot on there, so I don't recommend like
yeah.
just going full on into it, especially if you're doing the divorce thing and it's working. You
Hmm.
know, it's one of those things like just keep um just keep perfecting that, right? And if you can get a couple of attorneys, that's a good group of
Little pool. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Obviously, so you've gotten these two listings from these two, divorce attorneys. What was their, and I know you said like one of them is just listed, one's in escrow. What you know, what's the attorney's reaction been to just your ability to help out their clients and just take that off their plate?
Okay, so the first one, he's already telling me that he has another like one or two like coming up. He just needs to go through whatever the mediation process is, right? Um, he said like within the next 2 weeks, man, I got you at least one or two people. um, he likes the fact that it's already an escrow. He likes the fact of, and then he had heard back from, I guess, the husband on that side of the divorce. Because I think he is representing the husband. I'm not 100. I didn't really get into too much depth as far as like all the details, right? I figured for me it was going to be a lot better if I didn't pick sides. Um, so um, apparently the husband's already told him like, oh, Mario's quick. He's easy to work with. He's funny, and then he comes with a whole lot more energy as far as he's not just dull and drunk because apparently the attorney takes all the fun out of the mediation meeting. So, it's like, oh, well, Mario actually comes with like a set of energy that just doesn't, you know, it's better. It's a change of pace as far as like, oh, every time we're there, meetings are so heavy. There's just something weighing down in the meeting and the interaction. And then Mario comes in, he's just joking around, which is a whole lot better pace as far as, but he actually gets the business. So, so that attorney is actually pretty happy. You know, I mean, if he's going to send me another one or two, clearly, satisfied, right? Within a month period, he's already sending me another one. So two within a month. That I think that speaks for itself as far as like how happy and satisfied he is. The other one or the second, attorney, he hasn't really like told me much. We haven't had too much interaction. Um, I told him that we just listed it, where we were in the process. Okay, I started, and then it's going to be Easter weekend, so I'm sure,
Yeah.
you know, so I was,
Yeah.
I'm hoping, he tells me like, oh, dude, I heard back from them. They told
Yeah.
me great things about you. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, either way, I mean, you've had a great return on 10 books.
10
So
books.
I think what you're doing is awesome. And